What's up, TeehanTubers? Today we're going to go over our assignment this week. We're going to go over the answers. I'm going to give out a ton of extra credit. I think the world could use some extra credit right now. I decided to do a little different. I did print out a couple of the responses to the enrichment assignment, but I also decided that I went through all your answers from throughout the week and I chose a few from each class to make sure that each class is represented. And we're going to go over each question one by one, and then I'll show you whose answer we're all looking at on the screen. And that person, when their name pops up, will get a supreme extra credit. That's +5, okay? And I'll have to keep track of all that. The other thing I want to say is that you guys did great this week. A lot of people did their work, took it seriously. I know it's probably been a whole different situation, a whole different thing. I've been working with my 6-year-old son, and it's been a lot of work, and I feel for you guys because I've had to work with him almost every step of the way, and then do my work, and so I mean the whole thing is it's a lot of work. I'm sure you guys uh, when you heard that we were not going to have school for 5 weeks, we're like, oh, yeah, sweet. And I bet you by the end of this week, I'm sure you guys are like, I'm ready to go back to school. I'm pretty sure that sentiment is shared amongst most of you. Um, one more thing before we get started with the answers. I've decided that the time capsule that I had been talking about now is more important than ever. We are now living through quite a significant historical event. I've never had the whole city quarantined in my lifetime, and your parents probably haven't either. And hopefully, this is something that doesn't happen too often. So, the value of your personal experiences and your personal experiences is tremendous right now for the future. And just like when we read a primary source in class and we learn from someone and their firsthand perspective on something, and we can almost transport ourselves from our time into their time, like a window to the past, not to sound cheesy. That's what a time capsule would be like for us in this very interesting and difficult time that we're all going through. So, starting next week, I think part of our weekly kind of thing is going to be creating some primary sources. Now, I don't want you going out interviewing people. I don't want you doing anything dangerous, but I want to try and capture the emotions, the feelings, the experiences that we're all going through, and then we can compile it for future generations because we are living in history right now, and we can be part of history and part of the education of history in the future. This is something that I may teach in 20 years. I mean, hopefully it doesn't get that bad, okay, that I would be teaching it in 20 years. But, I think we wrote our experiences down for children in 2040. We did that in class. And now our experiences are totally different and way more valuable now. So I'm going to be doing some stuff. I've been doing a lot of reflecting on this time and my experiences and how it's been affecting me emotionally and mentally and physically. And I think I'd like you guys to do the same. So I'll give you some more guidelines about that next week, and we'll talk about that next week. I think that will be not only will it be extremely interesting and valuable for the future, I think it'll be good and, I'm going to use a big word. I think it'll be cathartic for us to share our experiences and share what we're going through, because I'm sure there are people who, are going through things and are anxious and having anxiety and are, you know, in their house locked up, scared to go outside. And I think, we're all in this together, and we may forget that we're all in this together if we're just sitting behind these computer screens. So we're going to reach out real quick. Next week, I'm going to be going live with you guys. I think Monday and Wednesday from 10 to 11 a.m. I'm going to send out a link for Google Meets to all of my classes. Now, this could get real insane real quick because I have 180 students, but what I'd like to do is, see your faces, say hello, say what's up. If you got any problems, we could talk. Um, we'll do it like that. We'll see how it goes on Monday. I might have to work some things out because there's 180 students at the same time, which I doubt. Uh, it would just probably be chaos. So we'll figure that out. Okay. All right. Let's go over the answers and let's give out some extra credit because everyone knows extra credit and supreme extra credits. Remember, +5. Okay, so the first question was about the hypothesis that men and women were equal in hunter-gatherer societies, and the answer that I chose to share with you is one of our students said, I would disagree because the men hunt and kill animals, while on the other hand, women would take care of the children, weave baskets, make tools, and gather fruits. So, yeah, they weren't equal. They were doing different things. I guess if you take the definition of the word equal, there you go. And a lot of historians believe that probably women had the much tougher job during this time period because the women had to multitask and they had a lot of work to do back at home. They were taking care of the children, raising the children. They were also providing sustenance by picking, gathering berries, where the men had one singular job, one goal, and that was to hunt animals and bring that meat back to the families. Now, if you put that you agreed with the hypothesis and you had a good answer, you know, that's correct too. You got a 4. And this answer comes from Lila, 708. Okay, my homeroom. All right. So you got your supreme extra credit. Moving on. Okay, this is the impacts of a hunter-gatherer society. I might not read the whole thing because we don't have all day to be sitting here. So the impacts of discovering farming on hunter-gatherer society. So if you're a hunter and all of a sudden your village begins to farm, things are going to change, right? So number one, you had higher populations because farming allowed for more sustainable food sources, increased the chance of living long enough to have family. So definitely higher populations because of food sources becoming more readily available. B, nomadic lifestyle would be abandoned. Farming meant that people didn't need to move for food sources anymore because it was right there. And I think the addition to that is C, that would mean that the society would grow larger and possibly become a powerful civilization because of large and populous territories that didn't have to evacuate in many situations. One of the other results were disease, because now we were living amongst domesticated animals, and these domesticated animals did carry diseases, and so farming societies had more diseases for sure, and they were less healthy because where in a hunter-gatherer society you had a variety of different meats and vegetables and berries and all different things that you would be able to eat. In a farming society like my people's society for a while, all we ate was potatoes. Okay, so when you have a family that's living off of one potato a day versus a family that's hunting all different types of animals and all different types of things, obviously the people with the more varied diet are going to be healthier. Okay. Okay. Oh, that is from Angelica C. 704. I know she's probably happy. Hopefully she's watching this. Okay, here we go. Next up. Might not read the whole thing. This is the short response. How did hunter-gatherer tools and technology contribute to the survival of prehistoric people? The survival of prehistoric nomadic people depended on hunter-gatherer tools and technology. The video, which we watched, supports the statement when it says that farming is the root of all society. This demonstrates that nomadic people's lives relied on agriculture. Agriculture helped the nomadic people, but technology and tools let them work quicker and more efficiently. So this is, they're talking about how tools would allow for farming people who were farming, to farm better and farm quicker and be able to provide more food for their family. And this short response, if you want to read the whole thing, you can, is from, let's see, we got the Supreme Extra Credit, Rika H, 701. Okay, 701 on the board. Okay, I know you guys are extra credit fiends, so you're probably happy for Rika, maybe. Okay. List 3 groups of people. So we're going to skip now from our hunter-gatherers and our farming and our ancient women to the revolutionary women lesson. So this is about the people who would feel marginalized when they read the words "all men are created equal" in the Declaration of Independence. Now there are a few, and these are not all the answers, but these are some good answers. So number 1, for sure, slaves. Could you imagine being a slave and then literally hearing your slave owner, your slave master, Thomas Jefferson himself, write on a piece of paper, "all men are created equal"? Confusing, to say the least. Women, straight up, were like, "all men are created equal." They're not even adding 50% of the population? How dare they? Okay. Prisoners, for sure. Even poor, it says poor women too. Okay. So those are some good examples. People who didn't own land. That's another group of people that might say all men are created equal. Okay. I don't own land, I can't vote, I don't have a say, so how am I equal? So that answer comes from, let me think if I can remember, 707. Trinity. Okay, Trinity, that's from you, Trinity. Good job. You got yourself some Supreme Extra Credit as well. Cite the line. This is from the John Adams, Abigail Adams letter. Okay. The first one is the first answer asks where she says to remember the ladies. And so the answer goes, "I desire you would remember the ladies and be more generous and favorable to them than your ancestors." Okay, so she's actually putting her husband John on blast, saying that we have been treated for pretty poorly for a very long time. And I asked that if we're going to be moving in a new direction as a country, that you guys are a little more generous and favorable than your ancestors have been to us. Okay, you have the power right now to change things, John, and I expect you to do it. And if you don't, well, I'm not going to make you dinner anymore. I'm not going to take, I'm not going. I'm mess you up. Okay. Here's another line that's actually the real threat. Abigail threatens John, which is one of the reasons I really like this source, because I feel like I've been threatened by my wife many times throughout this last week. So she writes, "We are determined to foment a rebellion," which means we're going to start our own rebellion, women's rebellion, "and will not hold ourselves bound by any laws in which we have no voice or representation." And like I said during the lesson, this is the reverse card. He's saying, you have a rebellion because you're not happy with not having a voice or representation in British Parliament. And so now if we're not going to have voice or representation in this new United States of America, you can expect a little rebellion on your own, okay? Of our own, of women, okay? So this comes from, it's a good one. Avanti, 702. There you go, Avanti, okay? Doesn't say much in class, but has a good answer, so you got that Supreme Extra Credit. Here we go. Anna Smith Strong, we mentioned, this is the woman who was able to use her laundry to help America win a war. It's pretty, fascinating. It says she used her laundry as a code that no one else knew, so that Benjamin Talmadge and Caleb Brewster would know if they were present in the city and where they could meet for spy meetings. So she was the one, almost like the dispatcher, who would control where the spy meetings happened, and she would be able to relay that information using different patterns of her laundry and different colors. Fascinating little piece of history. This comes from, I forget. Rosalie, 702, Supreme Extra Credit. There you go. Okay. And then finally, last up, comprehension questions. Why did Dolly Madison have to evacuate the White House in the first place? She had to leave because of her husband's army defeat, which gave the British the advantage to go straight for the White House in Washington, D.C.? B. Why do you think she would rather have the painting destroyed than fall in the hands of the enemy? Dolly Madison would rather have the painting destroyed than fall in the hands of the enemy because it states in the text, I guess, that she would rather have it destroyed than land in the hands of the British. Okay, well, I want a little more from that. Basically saying Washington was a symbol at this time, right? And to have a symbol of our freedom and a symbol of our liberty fall into the very hands of the people who we fought for our liberty and our freedom would be a tragedy. Okay? Why would Dolly Madison risk her life to save this painting? She saved this painting of George Washington from being looted by the British troops during the War of 1812. Furthermore, she risked her life to save the painting when the White House went up in flames. Okay? And this is basically saying that she would risk her life, okay, in order to preserve this piece of history. Okay? I added a little bit for you. And this one, okay, is for I remember this one. Okay, hold on, right there. Oh, you see it? Yeah, there you go. That's for Gabby. Okay, 703. So those are the regular questions. Now I have some of the women you would like added to the Revolutionary War curriculum. I got a couple of good ones. Excuse me. Let me read. Let me get a good one. Okay. First one. This is Morgan Corbin's. That's not one of my students. That's the woman. Morgan Corbin's husband handled ammunition for cannons. In 1776, they got stationed at Fort Washington. When the fort was attacked by British troops, sadly, Morgan's husband got stuck by an enemy. I think we're talking about bayoneting, I'm guessing, right? Got stuck, and the husband passed away. But after that, she took over the cannon until she was stuck herself by a gunshot through the chest and left arm. Okay, that's Morgan Corbin. And I think part of her story gets mixed in with that Molly Pitcher story. And I think she is probably the basis of Molly Pitcher. And that is from Nevaeh in 708. I got your printout right there. Extra credit. Yeah, nice. All right, cool. Here's another one. Dear Mr. Teehan, another woman that I find important is Agent 355. Agent 355 is the most mysterious figure of the American Revolution. For a long time, even after 200 years, her identity is still unknown. Nobody knew who she was, but she helped to uncover American General Benedict Arnold's plan to betray the revolution. Okay, I like this one because it's a code name, Agent 355, which is probably part of the Culper Spiring. And Major John Andre, his contact was arrested by the colonists. The fort at West Point, which Arnold had schemed to turn over to the British, was saved, even though Agent 355 was unknown, but she still helped the American Revolution. And that is from Mr. Sean J. in 707. There you go. Here's another one, Deborah Sampson. The first women who should be picked to be incorporated into the American Revolution lessons should be Deborah Sampson. To start off, she was a woman American soldier. She so desperately wanted to be part of the U.S. Army that she bound her chest, which means right? Even as a woman, she was still very good, and all the other men never suspected a thing. Sampson went as far as to refuse medical help as long as they wouldn't find out her true identity. So she was in trouble. She refused medical help because she didn't want the men to discover that she was actually a woman, because if she was examined, obviously, right? Sampson was basically the beginning of the women's rights movement. This is because after she was kicked out of the military, she demanded a payback for her service. Good for her, Deborah. Even though any normal person would do this, she actually got the attention from the Congress. So Deborah Sampson should be added to our American Revolution unit. Okay? I got two more, I think. Yep. Okay. This one is a bit angry. I don't really understand why. Dear Mr. Teehan, I have noticed that your lessons consist solely of men. As you are in the 21st century, the year where men and women are equal, I find this so very wrong. I think that's the whole point of the lesson. As a compromise, I humbly request that you add these women into your lesson. The first is a group of women that created their own militia and defended their town during the Revolution, called Mrs. David Wright's Guard. David Wright was on the Mets, but these women showed outstanding bravery, arming themselves sometimes only with farm tools. They also stopped information from being leaked to the British, but that wasn't the remarkable part. The remarkable part was that the person who was going to leak this information was the leader's own brother. The leaders was able to look past family ties and bonds for the greater good of the colonies. So, Ms. Tian, women also made important contributions to the making of the United States, and as such, you should include at least these women in your lessons, and hopefully more women in your future lessons. Sincerely, but also quite angrily, Leah. I'm sorry. That's what I'm doing. I'm including women. We're including more women. I hope everything's cool. Okay. Um, last one. Last one for extra credit. Dear Mr. Teehan, I think that you should incorporate Lydia Dara into your American Revolution lessons because Lydia was a huge help in spying for George Washington's large spy network. Lydia's house was used as a meeting spot for the British, and she would often hide in a closet next to the room the officers met in. Then she told the plans of the British to her son, who served in the Revolutionary Army. British weren't they weren't too smart with where they were giving information. You'd think if they're going to give information, they would say, let me check the closet, let me check under the bed, let me make sure the bartender is not a spy. But whatever, I digress. Lydia would sometimes sew the messages into button covers or hide them in needle books, which shows how clever she was carrying out her job as a spy in George Washington's secret force. This means that Lydia saved a huge amount of revolutionaries, and that included the upcoming President of the United States, George Washington. The fact that she accomplished such a feat with her spying career shows how much she contributed to the American Revolution. This shows how Lydia had such an important role as a spy, and that she should be incorporated in your American Revolutions. Lessons from your boy, Raj. Oh, man. All right. Guys, thanks for watching. Okay. We'll try and do this every week where I pick your questions and give out extra credit. And this way, hopefully you'll watch. Okay. I know it's probably not the most exciting thing on YouTube, me going over schoolwork, but that's what we got. That's all we got right now. All right. So I miss you guys. I hope everything's well. Hope your families are well. And I hope to see you soon. I think I'll see you soon. All right, Teehan out.